Hey y'all, it is Amanda and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to be doing a beginners to makeup kind of tutorial, just to kind of walk through with you guys if you are new to makeup and want to learn about how to apply it better. This video is for you. I have been away for quite a few days just because I went back to work, so things have been a little hectic and trying to figure out my schedule has been a little crazy. So I'm happy to be back and jumping into this video. So if you want to go ahead and see this tutorial, just keep on watching.
I gave you my heart.
Alright, so for every beginner, you of course want to start out with a primer. That is the first step always. So there are different primers for different skin types and different things that go on with your skin. So you can get like a pore filling primer if you've got really big pores to cover up those areas. You can get a hydrating primer if your skin is pretty dry. Or for me, what I prefer is the Cover FX. This is the gripping primer. I love this primer because I have oily skin and it helps to grip any products that I put on my face. It helps it to stay in place. So whatever your skin type may be or whatever your concerns may be is going to be what primer you pick up, whether it's drugstore or it's high end. So what you're going to do is go ahead and grab a little bit of that primer and apply it where you need to. So if you're gonna have like a pore filling primer, you're gonna wanna put it in like your T-zone area where your pores are. For me, with this gripping primer, I'm gonna apply it all over the face because I want to be able to have my makeup grip everywhere, of course. And because I'm oily everywhere, not just in one spot. So I'm just applying this on and it's gonna feel like very tacky, which is exactly what we want with applying the foundation. Now, once the primer is on, like I said, if you do have the pores, you're gonna want to put it in your T-zone, which is this area here for the big pores. If it's hydrating or if it's the gripping, whatever it may be, you can tend to apply that everywhere else as well. Next up is foundation. And foundation is going to be your preference as far as what kind of foundation you like. Everybody likes different things on their skin. Today, I'm actually gonna be using the L'Oreal Infallible Foundation. I like this because I feel like it gives my skin a nice skin finish. It's not prone for oily or dry. It works for everybody. And it's just a really good foundation in general that lasts a while. So I like this one. So you're gonna grab whatever foundation you prefer. Now I am going to do a sponge on one side of my face and a brush on the other because everybody has preferences on what they prefer to use. I tend to find a sponge better to use if I want something that's more full coverage, or I'll use a brush if I'm kind of in a rush. That can help as well. And you always want to make sure that your sponge is wet. So I really like these Real Technique sponges for a cheaper drugstore type cost. I think they're like $3.99, $4.99 for these. Or there's the higher end ones that people like Beauty Blender, which is around $20. But I just prefer this simple, good to go. And so we're going to do, like I said, this half of my face is going to be with the sponge, and this half of my face is going to be with a brush. All right, so for the sponge, I'm going to use this side here, this flat side, to apply my foundation. And I'm just going to start off with 2 pumps, like so. And we're just going to start stamping it on the face in like a circular motion. So we're just going to go around like this and blend it out. And make sure to get every area. And then I'm just going to take a little smaller amount for the forehead since I'm not going further onto this side. All right, so now that this side has the foundation, this is the foundation side, and this is the non-foundation side. And now the brush that I'm going to use is this is the Morphe X Jeffree Star brush, JS1. But any flat brush like this will do. Just a flat, compact brush is perfect to use if you're wanting to use it with a brush. And I'm just going to directly go on and just put 2 pumps on here And we're just gonna start brushing it on the face, kind of in a stamping, brushing motion. I still feel like I get just a little bit more coverage over here with a sponge than a brush. But again, it's all preference. If you prefer just a lighter coverage, then the brush would work just fine. So now that you've applied your foundation, the next step is concealer. Again, this is gonna be your preference as well. Whatever kind of concealer works for you. I tend to go a little lighter than my skin tone because I wanna be able to highlight my face. Okay, so the concealer I'm gonna go in with is the ColourPop No Filter Concealer in the shade Light 14. So you are going to apply this, and what I like to do, because I naturally crease under my eyes, and no matter what concealer I use, it never goes away. I think it's just because of my eyes, and there's just nothing I can do about it. So what I like to do is just take a couple lines under my eyes like that on both sides. And then to highlight the face, I'm gonna put a couple lines right here, down my nose, over my Cupid's bow, and my chin, because these are gonna be the highlighting areas. Then you're gonna go back with your sponge or your brush if you prefer. I'll show again both ways. So for the sponge, you're gonna use this side and start stamping it in to blend it out. It adds coverage to my chin, but it also gives it a nice highlight as well to the center of my face. And then when you're going for the eye, you're gonna start low and work your way up towards the eye. And just in a stamping motion, stamp that concealer in. And if you go upward, you're gonna help lift the face. See how my face is here? How it looks more lifted this direction? So you always wanna make sure you stamp upwards. Now I'll use the brush for the remaining part. The brush that I use is the Morphe M173, just because it's a small, flat, compact brush to help rub in the concealer. Same thing here, you're gonna start with the bottom, spread it out, and then work towards the eye. Okay, so the next step is going to be powder. So you want to get a loose powder, any powder that you prefer. For me, because of, again, my oily skin, I'm going to use the e.l.f. matte powder. I feel like this really helps to mattify my skin. It does a really good job at that and did not make me look so oily. And you're going to place this underneath the eye, and you're going to place it where you put your concealer. I'm just going to use this Morphe brush here, smaller so I can get underneath my eye. I'm gonna pick up some of that powder on my brush, and I'm just gonna stamp underneath my eye to set that. Now, you can take a loose powder and put it all over your face as well. You can set it that way too, and I normally do that. But you can also take a pressed powder to do it all over your face too. So I'm gonna just use the pressed powder for those who like pressed powder. And this, I'm just gonna take a big powder brush, dip it in, and stamp it all over to set the rest. I don't wanna brush it on because I don't wanna drag any of the foundation. So it's easier just to stamp it on. Okay, so for the next step is going to be bronzer. So the bronzer I'm going to use is the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. And you're just going to use you can use a powder brush, a specific bronzer brush, whatever. This is the brush I use from Morphe. And you're just going to pick up some on your brush. And you're going to go right in this section here to bronze. So you're just going to go like this and go in circular motions. I always pull my face like that just so I can make sure that I'm getting right where like my bone structure is, since I have big cheeks. Then for me, you don't have to do this, especially as beginners. I like to contour my nose, and all I do is just take a small brush, dip it in, and I just lightly drag it on the sides of my nose just to give it a different shape. But again, that's all preference. Okay, so then you're gonna do blush. Blush I'm gonna go in with is this Color Pop blush. And I'm just gonna use an angled brush like this to apply. So you're just gonna take some on your brush, tap off the excess. I like to smile a little bit to get that little apple right there. And what I do is I tap it on and I work my way up. So I'll tap it, circular motion, up. Now for highlight, you can take any highlight that you want. I am going to use the Kylie Cosmetics Ice Me Out. And this is what the inside of it looks like. I just like to take like a highlighting brush, just kind of like a fluffy brush like this. Dip in a little bit, tap off the excess, and then I like to place it, you can kind of already see where the shininess is right here. So go up above where the blush was, and I make a C form right here to give myself a glow right in that area. You'll do the same on the other side. So right here, go up into a C, backward Z, C on this side. And then I like to highlight the inner of my face. So people don't have to do that if you guys don't want to, but I just take it on the top of my nose right here, a little bit on the center, tiny bit on the forehead, on the Cupid's bow, and just a little bit on the chin. So the face is done now. And it looks really, really good. And so now we're gonna go into eyeshadow. So the first step with eyeshadow is you want to prime your eyelids. So I'm gonna use the P. Louise Eye Base, and I'm just gonna take a flat brush like this. I'm gonna apply just a little bit on that brush, and I'm going to put it on top of my lid. This is canceling out all of this darkness. And for people that have veins that show, it'll cancel those out as well. And it'll be a nice base for your makeup to stay. Now it doesn't look all that pretty right now. It's not fully blended. I just take this brush to pat it all over and spread it out. And then I like to go back in with my sponge and take the pointy side and just blend it out a little bit more with that. Eyeshadow primer is definitely an option, not something you have to do. It's just a preference for me. I think for me, I'm gonna go in with some berry tones, which are like these shades down in this corner here. But I'm still gonna show you how to transition your eyeshadows, even though I am using berry tones. If you prefer neutrals or different colors, you can still do this the same way, just using those colors. So the first shade I'm gonna go in with is gonna be this shade right here. This is a light pink shade and it's gonna be a good transition shade. So I'm just using a fluffy brush, so just make sure it's nice and fluffy. Picking some up on my brush and tapping off the excess. And this is gonna go in my crease. So I'm gonna close my eye and I'm just gonna buff it on up here. And you're just gonna start from this corner here and buff it all the way over. So basically circular motions or windshield wiper motions. I usually do a combination of both. Okay, so now that that is blended out, we're gonna go in with a little deeper shade. So the shade that I am going to use next is going to be this shade called Heart On right here. And I'm just gonna take a little smaller fluffy brush. This is the JS6, the Morphe and Jeffree Star brush. Something just a little bit smaller, but not too small. We're gonna tap into that shade. Tap off the excess. And this is gonna go in the crease, but a little lower and more deeper. So I'm going to just put it on the outside here. I'm gonna keep my eye open and deepen up this crease right here. So we're not going as high as the other one. We're just deepening it right here. And I just do strict windshield wiper motions for this and just kind of tap it on the outer part of my eye. Okay, next I'm gonna take a smaller brush like this one. This is the JS12 brush. It's just a very small brush because we're gonna focus strictly on the outer corner. And I'm gonna use the shade Next, which is this one right here, so darker than this one. Just gonna pick up a little bit on the brush and we're focusing this right on the outer corner, so strictly right here. We're just gonna buff it out in the outer corner. This is just gonna give the eye some definition. Now for the center of the eye is when we're gonna put on like the metallic shade. So the brush I'm gonna use is this JS11 brush. It's a flat brush. You can always try to go in with these shades with a dry brush, or you can spray it with like a setting spray if you choose. Normally these are okay to go without, but if you ever want like more metallic-y blinding shade, then you can wet it. But I'm gonna go in with this shade Drama Queen. And you just rub some on the brush like so, and you're just gonna pat it on the eye. And then if you do have some fallout like I did, just take a powder brush and just dust it away. Then for the bottom line, I'm gonna go in with the darkest shade that I used, which again was this shade right here. And I'm just taking a flat brush. Again, this is by Morphe. Those are some really good brushes that are at a decent price compared to others if you're interested in getting some good brushes to use. And you're just gonna take this as close as you can to the waterline. And you're just gonna drag this line across the bottom. Then I'm just going to take that big fluffy brush that I used in the beginning with the same light transition shade I used, and I'm just going to buff out on the bottom that line like so. Okay, now that the eyeshadow is done, the next step is to do the rest of the things you want to do, which is like eyeliner and that sort of thing. For the bottom lash, what I'm going to use is a regular pencil, and I'm just going to use this Ulta Beauty dual end pencil, and I'm going to use the black side, and this is going to go in my waterline right here. So what I like to do is I just pull down and I just place it right there in my waterline. Some people can do it without pulling down, but I'm not that professional, so I'm just going to pull it down and do a line. Honestly, when I was in middle school, I didn't even wear eyeshadow. All I did was do black eyeliner, and I called it a day. Now for the top, you don't have to do this, especially if you are a beginner. Even for me, when it comes to liquid liner, like I still hold my eye like this to draw the line. So it's up to you completely if you want to use liquid liner on the top or not. You don't have to. Simple mascara will throw this look together. I'm going to go ahead and just do this off camera and pop on the liner, and then I'll be right back to go over mascara with you guys. Okay, so now that I'm back, we're going to go into mascara. Mascara, again, is all a preference for what you prefer. So I like anything that's going to make my lashes out in full because I don't really have big lashes at all. So I'm going to go in with the Bambi Eye Mascara by L'Oreal. And you always want to try to get as close to the bottom of the lash as possible and work your way up. Now that the top is done, I do like to go into my bottom as well. So I just carefully just run over them lightly. Okay, so now that mascara is done, the brows are the next thing. Brows, again, are another preference. You can use pomade, which I'm going to be using, or you can use a pencil, anything like that. Pencil and pomade can kind of be the same thing because you're using basically what would look like a pencil to do it. You just have to dip into a pomade first. This is the Morphe pomade, and I'm going to be using the JS7, which is a dual-ended spoolie and pencil. So what I like to do is go ahead and brush up my brows to help give them the shape that I'm wanting them to be in. Then I'm going to dip into the pomade, and I'm going to start drawing my brow out. And then I'm just going to start shading in. Luckily for me, I have thick brows, so I don't have to do too much. Okay, so now that the brows are done, the next step is gonna be, of course, lipstick. You can use lipstick, lip gloss. I just use a nice nude lipstick. This is the Jeffree Star Christmas Cookie. And I'm just gonna apply this right on my lips. And lastly, of course, we need to set our face. So if you are oily, you can use a mattifying spray. If you're dry, you can use a hydrating spray or a glowy spray. Or you could just use, you know, just a regular all-in-all setting spray. I'm gonna use the Too Faced. This is the Hangover 3-in-1. This is the refreshing primer and setting spray, and it has peach extract in it as well, with coconut water, probiotic-based ingredients, and skin revivers. And you just need to hold it away from your face about this far and just spritz over. Then if you want to dry your face, if you don't want to use your hands, I'm just getting a hand fan, or I have this fan from the dollar store, very powerful, and it dries my face fairly quickly. All right, guys, so this is the end of the video and how that I got this look for you guys. I really hope that these tips helped you, especially if you are, again, new to makeup and just wanting to learn how to apply those things. So if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you are new here. I'd love to have you guys a part of the fam, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.